is set to do just that. So let's jump in with our fantastic first speaker, and who better to get us going on our ambitions for a fantastic city in 2022. In his previous portfolios, Minister Matt Kean set a cracking pace outlining his vision for our future prosperity, including firmly embracing renewable energy. Today, Minister Kean joins us as Treasurer to share his economic agenda for the state and his views on the opportunities before us. So please join me in welcoming New South Wales Treasurer and the Minister for Energy, the Honourable Matt Kean.
Well, thank you so much, Sue, for that very warm introduction, and can I thank you for your outstanding leadership of this great organisation. Can I acknowledge the Chair of the Committee for Sydney, Michael Rose, and Gabrielle Metcalfe as well, who I haven't seen yet. But all the team involved with Committee for Sydney, I want to thank you for your leadership, particularly during this very difficult time for our CBD and city. Can I also acknowledge Auntie Anne for her wonderful welcome to country and thank her for her continued leadership. And I too would like to join her in acknowledging the traditional owners of the land and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And remind everyone that the land we're gathered on was, is and always will be Aboriginal land. Could I acknowledge the esteemed leaders of business, education and government that are here with us today, and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. We are fortunate to be in the company of experts and leaders from diverse backgrounds and industries. But one thing we all have in common is an awareness of the pivotal moment in history that we are living through, the challenges that this time presents us, and just as important, the opportunities that we have to ensure a healthy and prosperous future for our city, our state, and our nation. Now, the New South Wales economy has shown incredible resilience in the face of the COVID pandemic over the last 2 years. The health strategy pursued in 2020 and 2021 to limit community transmission of COVID-19 among an unvaccinated population had a pronounced but temporary impact on economic activity and employment. In the June quarter of 2020 and September 2021, the New South Wales state final demand fell sharply at rates not seen since World War II, while significant numbers of workers were temporarily laid off. However, in both instances, the combination of successful management of health outcomes associated with COVID and significant support provided by the Reserve Bank of Australia and all levels of government saw a rapid rebound in both activity and employment. Following the first lockdown, the economy had returned to its pre-COVID level within 3 quarters, while employment had rebounded back to its pre-COVID level within 10 months. The rebound from the Delta lockdown was even faster, with the economy recovering almost all the jobs lost within 2 months of the lockdown ending. The emergence of Omicron has caused renewed disruption to the economy. With more than 94% of the adult population fully vaccinated, the health strategy has shifted to a world where COVID is widespread in the community. Now, this does not mean that COVID is not having a marked impact on the economy. However, the sources of that impact have changed. The predominant driver now is the impact on labour supply, as those who have tested positive to COVID and their close contacts are required to isolate. There has been a confidence effect as the fear of contracting COVID has caused some sections of the community to refrain from higher risk settings. Business confidence has also been hurt by the uncertainty around labour supply as well as the COVID outlook. Though the driver of the impact on the economy has changed, the sections most impacted remain similar to that seen during the course of the pandemic, namely hospitality, distribution, retail trade, entertainment and of course travel. Throughout the pandemic, the New South Wales Government has stood by our people, our workers and our businesses. Since March 2020, the Government's commitment to COVID-related response, recovery and reform measures over 6 years has totalled more than $46 billion. $46 billion. The government stood by the community and businesses when they were doing it tough, and we will continue to do so as we go forward. And that includes the recent $1 billion support package in response to the latest Omicron outbreak, which is focused on small businesses and heavily impacted industries. Our 2022 Small Business Support Program will provide eligible businesses with a turnover of between $75,000 and $50 million that experience a minimum reduction of 40% in turnover, with a payment of up to 20% of weekly payroll for the month of February 2022. We've extended the commercial landlord hardship grants to 13 March 2022, with grants of up to $3,000 a month, GST inclusive, per property, available for eligible landlords who have provided rental waivers to tenants. We've also extended our Performing Arts Relaunch package to provide certainty and confidences as audiences return to theatres and other performance venues. But this isn't just about providing an appropriate safety net for workers and businesses. This is also about mitigating the underlying economic impacts of widespread community transmission of the virus. We are increasing the small business fees and charges rebate from $2,000 to $3,000 and help small businesses to offset the cost of rapid antigen tests for their workers. This is about helping businesses continue to trade. Now, the experience of the last 2 years has taught us about the importance of the foundations on which our economy and our society are built. Our economic resilience is a result of the creativity, the skills, experience, and determination of our businesses and workers. So many teams across our economy learnt to work from home, to keep our economy productive, and to keep our people safe. So many small businesses moved online or to takeaway and innovated to continue to serve their customers in a safe way. This was as a result of an educated, confident workforce and business community with the tools to transform how we worked in a matter of days and weeks. Our economic resilience is based on the wonders of science and human thought. We would not be here today without hugely effective vaccines, developed in record time in partnerships across national boundaries and between public and private enterprises. Our economic resilience also rested on the strength of our health system. We did not see the horrific scenes of Italy or New York, where people were unable to access healthcare because their hospitals were overloaded. The fact that our health system managed so well is a testament to our health staff, the investments and planning of the New South Wales government, the commitment to a strong health system from governments of both political persuasions over decades. Our economic resilience is a result of the efforts of the New South Wales people. The New South Wales people made huge sacrifices during the lockdowns to stop our hospitals getting overloaded, and we went out and got vaccinated to ensure that happened. Unlike other countries, across our community, we respected the science. We respected the health advice. We had faith in our democratic institutions, and we got vaccinated. In the age-old battle between science and misinformed myth, between hope and fear, we backed our best traits. But the virus also shone a light on the structural issues in our economy. The virus spread rapidly in communities where people were forced to choose between working sick and paying the bills. Those communities which had more access to parks, beaches, playgrounds, and national parks did not experience the same impacts on their mental health than those that did not. The vast monetary and fiscal support that we deployed to protect the economy has fuelled increases in house prices, which have made it harder for young people to buy a stake in our nation by buying a home. One of the biggest structural issues that the pandemic highlighted is the economic position of women in our economy and in our society. We know that women make up the majority of employees in the retail, accommodation and food services industries, the exact industries that faced extended lockdowns with limited opportunities for COVID-safe working arrangements. The pandemic was the first national recession in which women lost more jobs than men. In fact, when the Delta outbreak took hold last year, 85% of all jobs lost in the first month of the lockdown were jobs held by women. Now, beyond the job losses, we also know that women right across the state saw an increase in unpaid work, stemming from remote learning arrangements and providing care for elderly and vulnerable members of our community. But while the pandemic exacerbated the structural economic disadvantage experienced by more than half the population, the pandemic did not create it. Women's participation in our economy still lags significantly behind men's, with a 61% female participation rate compared to 70% for their male counterparts. The impacts of this are well known and reflected in our society, with women struggling to re-enter the workforce after having children, women retiring with 35% lower superannuation balances than their male counterparts, women making up only 30% of our ASX-listed companies. The lesson of the virus is that over the long term, when the big shocks come, lasting prosperity does not come at the expense of a good society, a good health or education system, our environment, diversity, or equality of opportunity. Lasting prosperity depends on these things. The lesson of the pandemic is that when we see long-term major challenges or risks, we have to confront them, not pretend that they don't exist. That's why today, the New South Wales Government is launching a landmark review into boosting women's economic opportunity right here in New South Wales, with an expert reference panel chaired by the outstanding Sam Mostyn, the President of Chief Executive Women. The review will be far-ranging, seeking out reform options to help women enter, re-enter, and stay in the workforce. It will also look for ways to reduce the gender pay gap, empower more female entrepreneurs, and run their own businesses and increase workplace flexibility. It will also explore ways to do this by improving access to affordable and quality early childhood education. Not only will this mean more choice for women in our workplaces, it also means that our children will be given the best start in life, driving long-term productivity gains for our entire economy. We know that the more that we invest in educating children under 5, the more they will be able to thrive. The less likely they are to enter the juvenile justice or child protection systems or have poor quality health outcomes. The review's not just the right thing to do because we believe in equal opportunity or because we believe in a great education for every child born in this state. But it's the right thing to do because unleashing the full potential of more than half our population is going to help build a more prosperous future for our state and everyone in it. The New South Wales economy would be 8% larger by 2060 if women's participation reached parity with men. Annual household income will on average increase by $22,000 per household per annum. As I said before, this is not just the right thing to do for our society, this is the right thing to do for our economy. The right structural support can not only improve women's economic security, but help fuel an economic boom for our state. With governments having taken on huge amounts of debt during the course of the pandemic, the best way to make that debt sustainable is to grow the overall size of our economy. Structural changes are not just the challenges of our time. They are the opportunities to underwrite our prosperity for decades to come. They are the opportunities to bequeath our children a better country than the one that we've inherited from our parents before us. Ladies and gentlemen, the lesson from the pandemic is that the fundamentals of our economy and our society matter. The New South Wales Government is focused on the fundamentals, has been focused on the fundamentals for over a decade now. We've engaged in an unprecedented redevelopment of our transport infrastructure. State-of-the-art facilities like the one that we're in today are just one of many examples of that investment that we've made in our state. We've led the state through some of the most difficult periods of drought, of bushfires, and of virus. We're leading the country towards a net zero emissions future. Now is the time to make sure that a little girl born today is afforded the same opportunities as a baby boy born in the hospital room next door. And that's something that her mother, her grandmother, or any other generation before her have not been able to say. Now is the time to address this issue and fix it once and for all. It's in the interests of our society to do this, and it's certainly in the interests of our economy to do this. Thank you very much.